I was reborn into the womb of the Regent King's favored consort, but I never expected the Emperor to be able to hear the thoughts of a fetus like me. The Emperor's favorite consort is pregnant again. She was reincarnated along with me. I rolled my eyes. You old geezer. You're 60 years old and still want to have a baby. This child was conceived when the imperial consort had an affair with the guard. The Emperor was so furious that he summoned the entire imperial hospital. Am I incapable of fathering children? If you don't tell the truth, I'll have your heads. The imperial physician trembled as he lay prostrate on the ground. Your Majesty, please just cut off our heads. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Consort Chen was absurdly fond of using the blood of virgins to maintain her beauty and complexion. Beneath the trees in the consort's garden, hundreds of teenage palace maids were buried. I served in the consort's palace before I died, to comfort the families of these wrongfully killed palace maids, but I too could not escape the fate of having my blood drained by the consort. The King of Hell said I had accumulated a great deal of merit, allowing me to be reborn into a good family. When it was time to drink the Meng Po soup, the ingredients for the soup had run out. She couldn't bear to see me suffer any longer. So she sent me directly onto the ferry boat. I am the lamplighting woman on this boat. The boy who was reincarnated into the imperial consort's womb is on the same boat as me. I asked him, "Who is your father?" He hesitated and refused to speak. The child beside him answered for him. His father is a guard in the palace, but according to the roster, this boy's mother is Consort Chen. I feel like I've stumbled upon a shocking secret. I silently lowered my head and shone the light even brighter. The King of Hell said he had picked a wealthy family for me. I hadn't taken a closer look yet. I only found out after crawling into their belly. My father is the regent, and my mother is the regent's consort. Good, very good. This background is extremely powerful, so powerful it's outrageous. The regent is only 26 years old, yet the emperor has to call him uncle. This shows how surprisingly high his seniority is. The regent patted me through a layer of belly. Little one. Shall we call you Uni from now on, Your Highness? The child is still so young, and you're already giving her a name. This is the fruit of our love. Not necessarily. It could also be the fertilization of love. The regent brought our mother and daughter to the palace to pay respects. In principle, he didn't need to pay respects to anyone. Even if he were snoring on the emperor's dragon throne, no one would dare lay a finger on him. But he was the principal. He wanted the emperor to issue an explicit decree, making an exception for me to become the next regent, a princess from a prince's household. Truly somewhat aggrieved. The emperor has half his body buried in the yellow earth, facing a regent who is younger than him, physically stronger than him, and of higher seniority. Dare to be angry but dare not speak. He knew it clearly. One more word from him, and this dog emperor's reign would be over. The regent took the imperial edict with satisfaction. He touched me again through my belly. I rolled over in protest. The emperor said, "My beloved consort is also with child. This is a double blessing for our household." I muttered to myself, "You old fool, you're 60 years old and still trying to have children." This child was conceived when the consort had an affair with the guard. The world outside became extremely quiet, so quiet that I could only hear my mother's heartbeat, and the sound of my mother's intestines digesting and holding in farts. Where is that child's voice coming from? Don't ask me, my child hasn't been born yet. Summon the imperial physician. Summon the imperial physician for me. Physician Li, I ask you, can I bear children? Physician Li's legs were trembling uncontrollably. Your Majesty, men cannot conceive. Physician Li was kicked flying. I am asking you, do I still have the ability to bear children? Physician Li's heart died. To answer Your Majesty. This humble subject will still try to find a way and strive to solve the problem of making men conceive. The emperor's heart died too. I laughed so hard in my mother's womb that I spun around 3 times. I nearly strangled myself with my own umbilical cord. I thought to myself, you couldn't have given birth at 50. And I have no idea where all these princes in the palace have come from over the past 10 years. This astonishing secret was, in theory, known to no one. But Consort Chen knew. As a favored consort, she attended to the emperor every night. There was no movement in her belly at all. Consort Chen had her family find a renowned gynecologist to check her pulse. She knew she was young, strong, and in good health. Then the problem couldn't be with her, it could only happen to that wretched old man. Consort Chen simply gave up and brought a few handsome young guards into the palace. As soon as the emperor left, she went to favor the guards, one shot, one soul. As a maid in the consort's palace, though not one of her personal attendants, I've heard some strange noises here and there. This secret is an open one that everyone tacitly understands. No one would be foolish enough to risk their head by exposing the consort. Every extra day alive means another day's wages. It's a pity that I was done in by Consort Chen. Sigh, life is unpredictable. That's just how the cookie crumbles. The emperor asked again, Uncle, are you sure you didn't hear the sound of a child speaking here? The regent king scratched his ear and said, Your Majesty, I truly did not hear it. If it's really necessary, shall I have the imperial physician prescribe some calming and sleep-inducing remedies for you? No need, summon Consort Chen for me, forget it. I will go find her myself. My mother never minds watching the drama unfold. Despite being heavily pregnant, she walked with swift, vigorous strides. She arrived at Consort Chen's palace gate 10 steps ahead of the emperor. What a spectacle, it's too lively. I tried hard to press my ear against my mother's belly to listen. Your Majesty, I'm right here. Come and catch me, Your Majesty. Don't just touch him, touch mine too. Mine is also hard, Your Highness. Please be gentle, don't break this little trinket. My mother paused in her steps. She turned and stopped the regent. Husband, let's go home. The baby in my belly is kicking again. The regent was puzzled. Since we're already here, let's stay and watch the excitement before leaving. What a since we're already here moment. I love this, Dad, the emperor said. If we're not catching them in the act, what are we waiting for? Just standing there dumbfounded. The emperor took a deep breath and forcefully kicked open the door to Consort Chen's bedchamber. The scene was so thrilling that I suddenly kicked my mother's belly. Consort Chen had a silk ribbon tied over her eyes, her hands groping in the air. Your Highness, over here, over here. The finest mutton fat jade ruyi is right here. Another young eunuch quickly raised the rosewood box in his arms a little higher. Several young eunuchs were each holding jade artifacts, porcelain vases, and carved ornaments, playing a game of cat and mouse with Consort Chen. My mother twitched the corner of her mouth. That's it, it's not even as fun as what we play at night. How boring. The regent quickly covered my mother's mouth. You silly girl, why do you have to spill everything? Consort Chen, hearing the commotion, tore off the silk blindfold in one swift motion. Why, Your Majesty? What brings you here? The emperor stared at the bizarre scene before him, a stifled breath caught in his chest. Beloved consort, what is the meaning of this? This humble consort has heard that touching more hard and smooth objects can help the child grow strong and upright. This is called touching blessings. My mother's stomach let out a gurgle sound. The regent, are you hungry? Of course, that wasn't the case. That was me laughing out loud right from inside my mother's womb. Touching blessings. How could she even come up with that? It was clearly just playing blindfolded guess the treasure with the fake eunuchs. Guess wrong and you'll be punished with a drink. Guess right and, not suitable for children. The emperor's wise expression was unpredictable. Believe it. This reason is just too ridiculous. Don't believe it. Yet the situation clearly isn't like catching someone in the act. Could it be that I'm really getting old, becoming suspicious and paranoid, and even hearing things? The old emperor's face darkened as his gaze shifted between my mother's swollen belly and Consort Chen's still flat stomach. With a final furious flick of his sleeve, summon the imperial physicians. Have all physicians come to the Hall of Mental Cultivation to see me at once? Oh, still refusing to give up, are you? But I suppose the outcome will be the same. After all, facts are as solid as iron. While physicians come and go like flowing water, not even beheadings can change that. The emperor stumbled, nearly tripping over the threshold. The chief physician broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. Then steeled himself and closed his eyes. He kowtowed and said, Your Majesty is deeply concerned with state affairs, and it is only natural that the imperial body feels somewhat fatigued. I will spare no effort to prepare a warm, nourishing tonic for Your Majesty, to help strengthen your foundation and cultivate your vitality. The emperor leaned close to the chief physician's ear and asked, "Have you heard any strange sounds lately?" The dean looked at the emperor with a dazed expression. "It's the voice of a child." The dean was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. After looking around to make sure there was no sign of movement, he cautiously replied, "Your Majesty, this humble servant has only heard the sounds of wind and birds in the palace recently, and has not heard any particular child's voice." Looking at his foolish appearance, the emperor's faint hope was completely shattered. He waved his hand irritably. Get out, get out. Double the calming soup. No, bring me the best calming incense, the kind that wouldn't wake up even if the sky collapsed." The imperial physician felt as if granted a great pardon. Scrambling and crawling as he retreated, I thought to myself, His Majesty's symptoms probably can't be fixed with just calming incense. We need to invite a celestial master to perform an exorcism. The calming incense was lit. The swirling smoke filled the hall of mental cultivation, making it feel like the celestial realm. My mother seemed a bit uncomfortable, likely irritated by the smoke, coughing incessantly. Every time she coughs, I get jolted. I'm about to get a concussion from this. Good grief. What kind of biochemical attack is this old man launching? Burning so much incense, isn't he afraid of getting cured into preserved meat? If my mother gets sick from the smoke, my father will shove the Imperial Hospital's incense burner right into your bed. The Emperor. He silently stood up and opened the window. The cold wind dispersed some of the smoke and cleared his muddled mind a little. My mother is staying at the palace and has no intention of leaving. Who says the palace isn't good? It's absolutely wonderful. Every day, watching the old emperor busily running around catching adulterers, my mother just grabs a handful of melon seeds and cracks them. Click, click, click. Love is a green light, so green it makes you panic. Guiding them toward the future they desire. The regent's face was so dark it looked like water could be wrung out of it. If you're so fond of living in the palace, why not get you a position as empress to sit on? My mother, crossing her legs, said, "No, no, that position is thankless work. Not even a dog would want to sit on it." I, playing with my umbilical cord in the womb, nodded vigorously. My mother was truly foresighted. Alas, Consort is also a pitiful soul. Clearly, it was her own frail health that caused the miscarriage. Yet that old White Lotus consort's yarn insinuated that the empress had a hand in it. She wept and pleaded for the emperor to uphold justice. As a result, the old emperor, that fool, actually believed it. He neglected the empress for several years. TSK, brains are a good thing. I hope that old geezer has one too. The emperor paused his vermilion brush while reviewing memorials. A drop of red ink fell on the memorial requesting commendation for the father of the virtuous consort. My mother trotted merrily after the old emperor, continuing to crack melon seeds. The old emperor said anxiously, "Aunt, I know you want to watch the excitement, but you must also consider the child in your womb, right?" My mother shook her head repeatedly. "It's no trouble, only the strong are worthy of being my child." The stage is set for the three women to put on a grand show. I rolled over in my belly, signaling my mother to hurry and follow them. My ears are ready. The old emperor was sneaking around, crouching behind a rose bush. "Hey, that one in the pink dress, isn't that Consort Liu? Don't let her delicate appearance fool you. She's secretly a master at Paigao. If I remember correctly, she can win half a month's wages from a young eunuch in just one night. And that talented Lady Li behind her, TSK. Don't be fooled by her meek and submissive appearance now. Who knows how she's cursing Consort Liu behind her back, calling her a seductive vixen for always snatching away the newly acquired yun brocade fabric she just got. Neither Consort Wang nor noble Lady Zhao are easy to deal with. Half of the palace's secret gossip and rumors come from their mouths. Consort Chen's nephew was reported to the capital prefect for forcibly seizing a commoner's daughter. A fortune was spent to settle it. Oh wow, this is some juicy gossip. The old emperor, at some point, had the chief eunuch bring the vermilion brush. My mother leaned in to take a look. Damn, even the king of hell would have to shout Lord of Clear Soup when he sees these annotations. The little notebook is already filled to the brim. Consort Liu gambles, and talented Lady Li is jealous. Beauty Wang and noble Lady Zhao gossip about the imperial consort behind her back. The The nephew of Consort Chen's maternal family has committed unlawful acts. This imperial harem truly has hidden dragons and crouching tigers, with scandals lurking everywhere. The old emperor suddenly felt that the anger of being cuckolded, in the face of these endless, fresh, and spicy scandals, it seems, is it really that hard to accept? In fact, it's even a bit addictive. The Regent King stroked his chin and whispered to my mother, "Madam, do you think His Majesty has taken a liking to you?" My mother rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. "You're his uncle, and I'm his aunt. He wouldn't dare even if he had 10 times the courage." I chimed in from inside the belly. Exactly. Dad, be more confident. That old geezer is obsessed with your daughter, with her exclusive harem gossip series. Can't miss it when you pass by." The old emperor looked at my mother's round, bulging belly with a complicated expression. So the voice that guided like a deity came from here. What in the world is living inside this thing? Is it an immortal or a demon? Or was it sent by the heavens to enlighten this muddle-headed emperor? He has not only grown accustomed to the inner thoughts coming from me, the fetus, he has even become somewhat dependent on them. This is much more straightforward than those heavily embellished reports from the secret guards. It's just that the term old geezer really stings to hear. The old emperor pointed at the regent. "I approve of your proposal to appoint this unborn child as the next regent. But the consort is not allowed to leave the palace until she gives birth." The regent was about to lose it. One refuses to leave, the other refuses to let go. Every day he is left alone in an empty room. What happened to the promise of playing 2-player games with him at night? I tied the umbilical cord into a bow, stretching luxuriously, following my mother's routine of eating, sleeping, and then eating again. This divine lifestyle couldn't be more wonderful. It's just that today's atmosphere feels a bit off somehow. That young eunuch loosening the soil in the imperial garden today, he looks somewhat unfamiliar, doesn't he? The small crossbow tucked at his waist. Is that the newly designed repeating crossbow from the military? Wait, why would a eunuch gardener be carrying this? He's looking at the old man with a strange expression. Oh no, there's an assassin. The emperor's hand trembled violently, spilling scalding tea all over himself. "Protect His Majesty." The emperor instinctively jerked his head back. A thin crossbow bolt whizzed past the tip of his nose. Chaos erupted instantly. "Assassins! Protect His Majesty! Protect the princess consort!" The guards pounced on the gardener eunuch like wolves and tigers. Seeing that his first strike had missed, the assassin actually advanced instead of retreating. He drew the short blade from his waist and charged forward again. Damn it all, this is a death warrior. I was bouncing around anxiously in my mother's belly. The bow was almost coming undone. Oh my God, this is going to be the death of me. I finally managed to be reborn into a wealthy family. Don't let me die in the womb. Hurry up and squat down, you old geezer. Watch out for that man's groin kick. Yes, now, kick him in the balls. The emperor didn't know whether he was scared stiff or suddenly inspired. The obese body unexpectedly squatted down with surprising agility. At the same time, a wild kick was thrown out. Ow! A shrill, distorted scream of agony echoed through the imperial garden. The accidental kick landed precisely on the vital spot. The assassin's face instantly twisted into a bluish-purple hue. His whole body curling up like a shrimp, he was pinned down firmly by the guards who swarmed over him. The emperor, having narrowly escaped death, slumped to the ground, panting heavily. The dragon robe was soaked through with cold sweat. The wretched old man's gaze fell once again on my mother's swollen belly. My mother was also badly frightened, her face pale as she protectively covered her belly with her hands. The regent hurried over. "It's good that your majesty is safe, Jiao Jiao." "Were you frightened?" My mother let out a cry and threw herself into the regent's arms, sobbing loudly. Not a single tear fell. I couldn't help but sigh in admiration. My mother really has her ways. A woman who knows how to act cute is truly blessed. The old emperor couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. "Are you kidding me? He seems to be the victim of the assassination attempt, doesn't he?" But he really couldn't say. "It was because I heard the thoughts of the child in your womb that I managed to avoid it." The old man took a deep breath. "Investigate today's incident thoroughly. Anyone involved will be executed without exception." After saying this, the old emperor remembered something. "Aunt, you have been startled. From today onwards, The princess consort will rest quietly in the palace. All her needs shall be provided according to the highest standard. The head of the imperial hospital will check her pulse daily to ensure that the princess consort and the little bun and the little princess are safe and sound. Well, now my mother and I have been rightfully detained in the palace by the emperor to serve as protective talismans. The Prince Regent frowned slightly. Obviously, he did not agree with this decision. My mother was not willing to just leave it at that. The peaceful days in the royal mansion were too boring. She hadn't experienced such an exciting scene in a long time. She held my cheap father's hand and continued to act coquettishly, saying, "I was just a little frightened, but I'm completely fine. Let's stay a bit longer." I sighed inwardly. The atmosphere in the hall of mental cultivation was heavy. The assassin was thrown on the ground, trussed up like a zongzi. "Your Majesty, this villain had poison hidden between his teeth, so we dislocated his jaw. Investigation reveals he is not a eunuch registered in the palace records." I perked up my ears while still in my mother's womb. "Oh, a professional contender. Look at those muscle lines. Look at the killer instinct in those eyes. Who would believe he's just a gardener? Which deity has this wretched old man offended? Could it be that Consort Chen, unsatisfied with how many green hats she's already given the emperor, now wants to send him to his grave?" The emperor's mouth twitched violently. He suppressed his anger and demanded, "Speak, who sent you?" The assassin remained silent, only seeking death. "It must be that wretched woman who disrupted my grand plan. I was so close to succeeding in the assassination. If I can't touch you, can't I harm the child in your womb?" Consort Chen no longer played games with the little eunuchs. He was so angry that he smashed every vase in the room. Consort Chen summoned her confidant. "Go, bring out the statue of the child giving guanine from the storeroom. Make sure to clean it meticulously and send it to the regent's princess consort. Tell her, may she and her child be safe and well." That white jade child-giving guanine statue had long been hollowed out from the inside. It was filled with something else. My mother was devouring the apple with great relish. "Things from the palace are just wonderful. No need to spend our own money. Your Highness, Consort Chen has sent someone to request an audience." Drowsy as I was, I perked up in an instant. Well, an old acquaintance has come." I carefully examined that palace maid. Seems to be called either Du Zhong or Bai Ji. Anyway, it's just some bitter little medicinal pill. Back when I was alive, I even complained to others, saying that Consort Chen gives her maids such inauspicious names. "We're doomed sooner or later." Her Highness said this is the most efficacious item and specifically ordered this servant to deliver it, wishing the princess and the unborn child good health. "Mom. Dearest mother, stay away from that thing. There's something sinister about it. If you keep smelling it, your baby will have to go back to the King of Hell and wait in line again. That venomous woman Consort Chen, she wants to use a child to climb up the ladder herself, yet she schemes to take 2 lives with one blow. Her intentions are utterly despicable." Almost simultaneously, the emperor felt a sudden buzz in his head. This venomous woman, not only did she have an affair, but she also dared to harm his lucky child. He could no longer restrain himself and strode out from behind the pillar, shouting sharply, "Stop right there." Everyone was startled. My mother's hand trembled, nearly dropping the apple to the ground. The emperor pointed at the statue of guanine, his face ashen. "Guards, take this thing to the Imperial Medical Bureau and have it examined inside and out, thoroughly and carefully." The imperial physician publicly pried open the base of the guanine statue. A fine, powdery substance was clearly visible. The chief physician personally examined it and reported with a trembling voice, "Your Majesty, this is drunken immortal vine. Prolonged inhalation is extremely harmful to pregnant women and their fetuses." "Excellent. What a fine Consort Chen," the emperor, enraged to the point of laughter, declared, "By my decree, Consort Chen, for her improper conduct, is hereby demoted to commoner status and confined to the cold palace. Take this palace maid to the severe punishment office for rigorous interrogation." I turned over comfortably in my mother's womb, keeping my achievements and reputation hidden. That wretched old man finally did something decent for once. But the cold palace is a place with quite a few vengeful spirits, isn't it? With so many lives on her conscience, how could Consort Chen possibly sleep at night after being sent there? The emperor listened to these inner thoughts and began to form his own considerations. It was time to thoroughly settle accounts within the harem and the imperial court. The old geezer claimed it was caring for the Empress Dowager's well-being. He kept inviting my mother over every day to play mahjong. The regent was so furious he was hopping up and down. If you don't want to be emperor anymore, just resign. What kind of proper emperor spends all day playing cards? That wretched old man was truly wicked. Royal uncle, why are you so angry? I've already finished all my official duties. What's wrong with relaxing a little? My mother threw out a card. Exactly. You're a grown man. Why are you picking on a child? Regent, my son, is he a child? I peeked at my mother's hand and then made up a fake one. I even cleaned out the old man's underwear. He refused to listen to my nonsense anymore. No way, my mother hasn't won enough yet. Hey! That Minister of Works who submitted the petition for funds to repair the Imperial Mausoleum today, his brother-in-law has been loan sharking outside, driving several people to their deaths. The shortfall in the river repair funds is probably being used to fill that hole. The old emperor paused his hand while playing his card, and my mother won. TSK. That censor who's always urging the emperor to be frugal, his wife just had a set of solid gold headpieces made yesterday. So heavy they could break her neck. The old emperor's brow twitched, and my mother won again. The palace concubines' allocated charcoal rations have been cut by 30%. The eunuch in charge is quite bold. But the virtuous consort is no easy target either. She's been secretly taking tribute silk from the palace and having her trusted eunuchs smuggle it out to sell. The emperor kicked his legs and rolled his eyes, and my mother won yet again. My mother poked the emperor's beard and said, "Come on. Let's play another round." The emperor, in his deathly illness, suddenly sat up with a start. What is there to fight? If we keep fighting, my empire will be lost entirely. Attendants, prepare the carriage for the Hall of Mental Cultivation, overnight. Several corrupt officials were quietly investigated and dealt with. The phenomenon of withholding allowances in the imperial harem was greatly reduced. Even 2 strongholds of the rebel faction were tracked down and eliminated. The old emperor felt that handling state affairs had never been so effortless before. My mother also felt that winning money was becoming easier and easier. This little private treasury has already matched 2 years' worth of the regent's official salary. Where? 2 clear and loud infant cries echoed from the delivery room. Leopard, cat, I'm born. The grumpy old man frowned as he looked at my wrinkled self, his beard trembling uncontrollably. Is this thing what you 2 gave birth to? Such an ugly little creature. The regent snatched back my adoption rights. This is your little imperial sister. If you can't love her, at least don't harm her. He's old enough to be my grandfather. Yet I still have to call him imperial brother. The old geezer clutched his chest and urgently called for the imperial physician. I didn't even say anything. Is his little heart that fragile? I was wrapped in a brocade swaddling cloth, my mother leaning weakly against the head of the bed. Ugly. No, my little imperial sister looks quite sturdy. The emperor struggled for a long time before finally uttering this sentence. He leaned in closer, his heart screaming, "Speak, say something more. How come my lucky baby has been silent since birth? Could it be that it stopped working once it left the womb? Should I just stuff you back in there?" I yawned. Even after leaving the factory, there should be some after-sales rest time. Right, Your Majesty, Jiao needs to rest. The regent began to shoo people away. The emperor was reluctant to leave, turning back every few steps. I really don't have time to fool around with him anymore. I want milk now. Where is the wet nurse? I've also started living a life of eating until I'm full and sleeping until I'm rested. Thanks for the invite. Just out of the womb, busy growing. Do not disturb. Without my divine guidance, the emperor's days were filled with unbearable anxiety. No matter when he came, I was either nursing or sleeping. Occasionally when awake, she would babble and coo, speaking entirely in baby language. Just then, Consort Chen, who had been confined to the cold palace, suddenly showed signs of an unstable pregnancy, as if she was about to go into labor. They urgently sought a midwife to assist with the delivery. The emperor, clinging to a last glimmer of hope, came to visit me once again. I was giggling as my mother teased me, waving my little fists. The emperor sat not far away, his gaze full of resentment. I was thinking happily to myself, ah, being a child is so wonderful. All I do is eat, sleep, and have people to play with. I let out a milky burp, TSK. I bet that lover of hers, the guard, is as anxious as an ant on a hot pan right now. I heard she even secretly bribed a young eunuch outside the cold palace. Such deep affection and loyalty, but not the brightest mind. But, come to think of it, it seems Consort Chen also buried quite a bit of private wealth outside. It's hidden under the lotus pond at the villa in the outskirts of the capital. Even the confiscation officials didn't find it. TSK, what an old fox, Emperor. The old geezer suddenly stood up, startling everyone. My mother almost dropped me on the ground. Your Majesty. The regent was puzzled. No, nothing. The Emperor's hands were trembling with excitement. I just remembered there's urgent business to attend to. I must leave now. Consort Chen lay on the worn-out bed, her abdomen racked with excruciating pain as she let out agonizing screams. The midwife sent to assist her was an experienced old hand from the palace, sharp and cunning, at a glance. She could tell the pregnancy was not at full term and the signs were dangerously unstable. Your Highness. No, Chen the commoner, you must push. The midwife urged her on. Consort Chen was drenched in sweat. This birth must not go wrong. This was her only hope for a comeback. After much commotion, a faint infant's cry finally echoed through the cold palace. The midwife held the wrinkled little baby, her expression peculiar. Congratulations, it's a little prince. Consort Chen weakly opened her eyes. Only, the little prince's ears are quite auspicious in appearance. What do you mean by auspicious in appearance? Consort Chen's heart instantly sank to the bottom. This is bad, the child doesn't resemble the emperor at all. A commotion arose outside the cold palace. The emperor stared at the child's protruding ears and nearly fainted from rage. Well, they didn't even need the blood test to confirm paternity. Execute this treacherous servant by 1,000 cuts. As for this vile woman and her bastard child, the emperor paused for a moment, then sneered, since the cold palace is full of wronged spirits, let the mother and child stay there properly, to keep those unjustly deceased palace maids company. With the decree issued, Consort Chen's last hope was completely shattered. The emperor has now completely become my #1 fan, coming to dote on the child every other day. My father, the regent, is looking at him with increasingly strange eyes. Madam, do you think His Majesty is trying to steal our daughter from us? My mother, embroidering a small bellaband for me without even looking up, said, what's there to fear? If he dares to steal her, you dare to beat him up. Our seniority is right here. I blew bubbles in my cradle, silently giving my approval in my heart. The emperor swiftly dealt with a few corrupt officials and rectified several long-standing malpractices. One night, the emperor stood in his empty bedchamber. His heart filled with sorrow. He had already confirmed the fact that he was infertile. In the harem, there were still countless princes whose fathers were unknown men. He had worked hard his entire life, only to end up without a single heir to carry on his bloodline. This vast land, must it truly become a dowry for someone else?
Seized the opportunity to strike while the iron was hot. I am advanced in years and deeply feel my energy waning. For the sake of the nation and its future, I have decided that after my passing, the great guardian Princess Uni shall inherit the throne. Silence, a deathly silence fell. Then came a wave of opposition 10 times fiercer than the last. Your Majesty, this must not be done, since ancient times. Has there ever been a woman on the throne? This is an omen of a nation's downfall. Your Majesty. The emperor looked down at the ministers kneeling before him, all appearing deeply distressed and heartbroken. Then he glanced at me in his arms, who was curiously tugging at the tassels on his dragon robe. Slowly, a profound and somewhat twisted smile spread across his face. His gaze swept over the few most vocal ministers below, his expression carrying a pointed meaning. There are matters I do not speak of, to preserve some dignity for you, and for this empire. My decision is final. Should anyone voice further dissent, he paused briefly, they shall be charged with treason. The entire court fell into a deathly silence. Some ministers with guilty consciences broke into cold sweats, not daring to speak another word. And so, while I was still diligently learning to roll over and crawl, I inexplicably became the next heir to this vast empire. My father held me in his arms, his expression complex as he looked at that bright yellow imperial edict. My dear daughter, your father has been doing quite well as the regent. So how come you're about to become the emperor directly? This generational order is a bit confusing. My mother, on the other hand, is extremely excited and has already started planning the design of my empress regalia. The old man has completely set his mind at ease, and his greatest joy every day is carrying me to court. He calls it getting familiar with the duties in advance. I babbled and fussed in his arms, strongly expressing my dissatisfaction. This old emperor's embrace was a bit uncomfortable and awkward. My father's embrace was much more comfortable. Hearing my treasonous thoughts, the emperor wasn't angry at all. Instead, he grinned from ear to ear. Time flies, and I've finally stumbled my way into adulthood. I officially ascended the throne, becoming the first empress in the history of this land. After years of my complaints and reforms, the imperial court has been more or less straightened out. At least on the surface, everything appears peaceful and prosperous. A small country from the western regions sent a tribute mission, claiming to enhance friendship. In the grand hall, the music of strings and bamboo was delightful, and the dance postures were graceful. I sat high on the dragon throne, wearing a standard smile. TSK, the envoy on the left. His belt is almost tightened up to his chest. Aren't you afraid of suffocating? The one on the right, with his eyes darting around, clearly has some devious scheme in mind. At that moment, an attendant in the envoy's party who had been keeping his head lowered suddenly looked up. He was a youth of about 17 or 18, with handsome features. His gaze was fixed directly on me. There was resentment, unwillingness, and jealousy, and perhaps even a hint of indescribable grievance. I was baffled by his stare, wondering to myself which deity he was supposed to be. A voice filled with extreme resentment suddenly pierced into my mind. That position, the one sitting there, should have been me. My hand, holding the wine glass, abruptly paused. The resentment is practically reaching the heavens. I turned my head to look at the male consort I had obtained by my side, and looked at him again. It seems he has a bit of good looks. It wouldn't be a bad idea to take him into the harem. On what grounds? On what grounds can you be reborn into the regent's manor, enjoy all the wealth and honor, and even become the empress? This voice, does that sound a bit familiar? I examined him carefully. I thought this was our first time meeting. Suddenly, a nearly forgotten image flashed through my mind. The dark river of forgetfulness, a swaying ferry boat, a little boy who stammered and refused to say who his father was. I refused to accept this. We clearly boarded the boat together. And my mother was even a royal consort. That inner voice came through even more clearly, filled with a strong sense of accusation. It's him, that boy who was supposed to be reincarnated into Consort Chen's womb, but whose fate was uncertain because his father was a guard. Me, well, damn. So it was a fellow student from the same period coming to pick a fight. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Can you really blame me? Blame your own father for being useless, just a mere guard. Besides, is being an empress really that comfortable? Every day, my wrist aches from reviewing memorials. Listening to those old men argue makes my head throb. I kept a straight face, even raising my glass to him. I gave a kind and amiable smile. My smile only made the young man even angrier, his eyes reddening and his fists clenching tightly in his sleeves. You're still smiling. You stole my position. You stole my fate. Do you have any idea how I've lived all these years? I rolled my eyes silently. Bro, can you be a little more reasonable? Being reborn is a skill. You had bad luck yourself, and you're blaming me. I maintained the dignity of an empress, carrying out the rewards as a matter of routine, yet throughout the entire process, that resentful gaze remained persistently fixed on me. The inner voice filled with unwillingness intermittently pierced into my mind. I won't let this go. Just you wait. What you've taken from me, I will reclaim it one day. After the banquet ended, I rubbed my throbbing temples. Go investigate the background of that pretty boy in the Western region's envoy group. Being an empress is such a hassle. Not only do I have to handle important state affairs, but I also have to deal with rivals competing for the throne. It seems my peaceful days have come to an end. This troublemaker is likely to stir up some trouble in my court.